This is Eljay and welcome back to How to Hydro. In this episode, we're going to be building our grow room. In our last few episodes, we did the math to plan out everything that was going to be installed into your grow room. In this next couple of episodes, we're going to actually be building our space. So let's get started. Building your grow room. Step one of building your grow room is going to be examining your structure. Now, my structure for the most part was already complete. I had to add a few pieces of plywood to fix some walls here and there, get the electricity ran straightened out, and a few other odds and ends. But we have a pretty functional room for the most part. If you have to build your room from scratch, there are all kinds of construction tutorials on YouTube that go over framing, drywall, plumbing, you name it. I'm going to be focusing on the actual grow room part of the job in these videos. The only real task when examining your structure is to make sure that there isn't anything structurally wrong with the room that's going to prevent you from building. If there are walls that are not done or no ceiling on the room, you may need to address these issues prior to building your grow room. And step two of building your room is going to be installing the room's ventilation system. Now that we have our plans all drawn up, it's time to start cutting holes. We start by cutting vents into our walls. During the drawing phase, we should have drawn our ventilation system. This will ideally tell us where to cut these holes, but if there are already existing holes in the structure such as dryer vents, chimneys, roof vents, whirlybirds, etc., then you can use these points to intake and exhaust from as well. I'm going to cut some holes. Then we're going to turn these holes into air-sealed intake and exhaust points to vent our lights and our room. We also may need to install an air conditioning solution, and this is a great time to cut the holes for that as well if you already have the AC. Now there are a couple steps to creating great vents. Step one, I like to use a thick bead of liquid nails around the outside edge of the vent before mounting it to the exterior wall. I use a thick bead in order to air seal it the best I can. I then screw it in to keep it held in place. You can use ordinary drywall screws for this even though the vent's made out of steel. Step two, from the inside of the building, I will use existing 2x4s of the building and simply add blocks at desired intervals to create a rectangular shape area to enclose my vent. Step three, I then blast foam gap sealer everywhere on all gaps, cracks, holes, everything. I do this to create an airtight seal in this little vent I'm building. I don't want air cracks everywhere that expel odorous air out of the room, or holes that are drawing inside warm air into my lights, or gaps that are returning my super hot light exhaust heat back into the room. Step four, I then cut a matching size piece of plywood to my vent and cut my ducting holes into the plywood to the desired size of the ducting I'll be using. This is a great time to install your flange as well. A flange gives you a hard collar to sleeve your ducting onto. The good ones have neoprene rings on the back to create an airtight seal. I got these at Lowe's. Step five, finally I weather seal the outer edges of the 2x4s where my plywood cover is going to land before screwing in the plywood. This creates an airtight seal. Step six, and if you cut a hole for your air conditioner as well, now's a great time to install it. Then we're going to go around and seal it with caulking and foam gap sealer much like we did the venting we just created. Thank you so much for checking us out. I truly appreciate the support. Email me any questions or thoughts at eljay@bigbudsmag.com. This is Eljay for bigbudsmag.com. We'll see you next time.